What's up guys, my name's Brandon and welcome back to Apple Weekly. In this episode, we're going to be discussing even more new features in iOS 26 and 26.1 beta. We're going to talk about new details on the foldable iPhone, Apple solved Scratchgate for the iPhone 17, details on Apple's new bug bounty payouts, a crazy AirTag story, and more. Okay, so let's start by talking about what released this week. So this week, Apple did push out iOS 26.1 beta 2, and we'll talk more about why I did not make a video on that at the end of this video, but there were quite a few changes in that software. Now, if you're not currently on the beta program, the latest version for the public release, if you're just on the public releases, is 26.0.1 still. So 26.1 will most likely be coming at the end of this month or early next month, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But in beta 2, we did get quite a few changes and some kind of surprising changes as well. So first off, and you might have noticed this already just from looking at my screen, but we now have more of a liquid glass look for the dock on the home screen. So you can see the light refracting, and it just looks a lot better and more fitting for liquid glass now versus 26.0. Also in the Photos application, the transparent buttons up here are back. So before they looked more frosted in 26.0, but you can see they're more like the liquid glass design now at the top and the bottom. And here's an interesting one that I wasn't really expecting. So take a look at the title of the folder here. So everything is now left aligned when it comes to folder title. So right up there up top. And then also if we go into the settings, if we go into settings and we go to something major like general, you could see that the whole title, everything is pushed to the left now. So everything is now left aligned, which is good because it was kind of mixed up before. Like certain things were centered and most everything was left aligned already, but now Apple is making everything a little bit more cohesive and everything being left aligned now system wide. So in folders, every folder you go into, you will see that the text is left aligned. And of course you will see that throughout settings as well in these different sections up top. Now, if you're on iOS 26, you probably know that we have a new timer UI. So when a timer goes off or your alarm goes off, you have a really big UI with two big buttons that say stop or snooze. And it was really easy to hit stop before, maybe accidentally because it was so large. Well, Apple has fixed that with iOS 26.1 beta 2. So let me set this real quick. So here we have a timer about to go off, and take a look at the UI now. So when it goes off, you can see that now we no longer have a stop at the bottom to end the timer. We now have a slide to stop along with an animation. So you can see we have that orange kind of refracting from the top, indicating that we can stop it. And there's also a slide to stop now. So you could see that the repeat gets a little bit darker as I slide it over as well. It's really responsive. And this kind of reminds me of the old iPhones where you had slide to unlock, but you now have to slide to stop the timer. And I didn't really think I would like that at first, but after using it a couple times, this is way better because now I never accidentally press stop on the timer or on the alarm like I have in the past. So a nice change there for that. And if you're like me and you're one of the 13 people out there that have an Apple Vision Pro, you will notice that in the Vision Pro application, we now have a new kind of 3D model rendering of the Vision Pro right here as a graphic. So it looks a little bit better now in 26.1. Oh, and here's something interesting. So if we go into our settings and then go down here to the privacy and security section and then scroll down, you can see down here at the bottom under accessories, we have a brand new section called background security improvements. And if we go into that, you could turn this on to automatically install. So it says background security improvements provide additional protection to your iPhone in between software updates. Sound familiar? Yes, that is rapid security updates that we saw before. We were supposed to get these rapid security updates in the past instead of like a 26.0.1, for example, or like a 26.0.2 that just includes security patches. Those kind of never were a thing. Apple introduced it, but they never really used it. But it looks like Apple is trying to, and now they're kind of rebranding that to background security improvements so we can patch security updates without needing a full OS download, like a 26.0.1, for example. Now, also inside of our settings, if we go into the display and brightness section, Apple finally changed the wallpaper on the appearance screen here. So for light and dark mode, before it showed the iOS 18 wallpaper, but now it's finally been updated to represent iOS 26 with the light and the dark mode wallpapers. Also in the fitness application, we have the new workout screen right here. Of course, the new section in workout. That's not new in 26.1 beta 2, but what is new is that we can now create custom workouts from the iPhone. So before you could only do this from the Apple Watch, but now you can create a custom workout from your phone in the fitness application on the workout screen. And if you have an iPad, there's a pretty big update for iPadOS 26.1 beta 2, and that is that slide over has returned. So slide over is now back for the iPad when you're multitasking. That was kind of removed before in iOS 26. A lot of people, myself included, mentioned that was kind of a downgrade, but Apple has added it back in 26.1 beta 2. Now, Apple did also release some AirPods updates this week, so we did get a new public release for the AirPods. This is for the AirPods Pro 3, AirPods Pro 2, and AirPods 4. So this version number is 8A358. And again, that was for the public. And Apple doesn't mention what was new in this software update or this firmware update. All we know is that there are bug fixes. So a lot of the stuff you see out there, people saying, oh, this has been fixed, that's been fixed. Nothing is really confirmed. Apple hasn't said it. So it's all on a case-by-case basis because there were a lot of bugs that were being reported out there that I've never experienced and I've never seen anybody experience. So you may see those bug fixes, you may not. Apple doesn't really make it clear with these updates in terms of AirPods. Now, if you're on the betas for the AirPods, if you scroll all the way down, of course, we do have a new section in iOS 26 for AirPods beta updates. If you go into that, you can enroll your AirPods to get the beta updates, to get these software updates early and see the new features early. And if you are on the beta, we did also see a new beta this week for the AirPods. So that version number is right here. It's 8B5014C. That is the build number for the latest beta for these AirPods. And once again, I didn't see any new features with these on my AirPods Pro 3, but I'm assuming it's just going to be bug fixes and maybe some enhancements to things like live translation and features like that. Now, of course, since it is a new month, Apple did announce the new games that are coming to Apple Arcade. So if you are an Apple Arcade subscriber, you will get 4 new games this month. So the games are Football Manager 26 Touch, My Sims, My Sims Kingdom, and Toca Boca Jr. Classics. And of course, you can see those right here in the games application. If you go to the arcade section, it will show these in here. So you can see some of them right there, as well as Apple's press release announcing it. Now, speaking of applications, the new Sora AI application launched recently, and it's already hit over 1 million downloads. So if you're not aware of Sora, basically it's going to allow you to create videos just from text. So this is from ChatGPT from OpenAI, and there's now basically a whole social media, built around creating these AI generated videos, which is kind of crazy. It's like an AI generated TikTok at this point. It's actually pretty addictive, and the application's already hit over 1 million downloads. And of course, the main reason you may have heard about this is because of the whole Jake Paul thing. And this kind of went viral because Jake Paul had a lot of viral videos in the application. But you can kind of see what it looks like right here. You have different things like Bob Ross, and people can like and comment. It's very similar to like Instagram Reels or TikTok, but it's all AI generated. Anyways, if you want to follow me on Sora, you can follow me. I'm just at @BButch over there on that if I ever decide to use it. And speaking of OpenAI, we also saw an update to ChatGPT this week where it allows us to now interact with multiple applications inside of conversations. So this is a new apps SDK, and this allows developers to build tools that blend naturally into chats. And some of these applications that this will work with are applications like Canva, Zillow, Spotify, Coursera, Figma, and more. And basically it's saying that users can summon applications by name. So you can say, ask Spotify or tell Spotify to make a playlist for an upcoming house party that I have. So essentially you can now have ChatGPT kind of integrate with those applications and use those applications as data points within a conversation without actually having to go into the application itself, which is pretty cool. And by the way, this is available to everybody. You don't have to be a Plus member or a subscriber or anything like that. It is a free update available to all. Now, speaking of applications and the App Store, we have some really interesting news for residents in Texas, because this week we saw that starting on January 1st, 2026, Apple users that are located in Texas will need to confirm whether they are 18 years or older when creating an Apple account. And the whole reason for these changes, as outlined by Apple, is that they just had to simply comply with what the state was asking for. So this, act in the state is called the App Store Accountability Act, and it's SB 2420. And it says that Apple accounts for users under 18 will be required to join a family sharing group, and parents will need to provide consent for all App Store downloads, app purchases, and in-app transactions. So even if you are over 18, you will now have to hit like a checkbox that says, yes, I am over 18 because of this new law. Anyways, going back to iOS 26.1 Beta 2, as far as performance goes, I've had a lot of people ask me recently about the performance and the battery life because I haven't really covered Beta 2 too much, but I have to say that performance is great so far. I mean, performance feels pretty much like 26.0. 26.1 Beta 1 had given me some issues. Like I had a few crashes. I had some lag on 26.1 Beta 1, but Beta 2 seems to be in a much better place and more similar to the final build of iOS 26.0, maybe even a little bit better in terms of performance. And when I say performance, I don't just mean like loading up applications and things like that. I mean keeping applications open longer, not having instant crashes in applications, not having keyboard lag, things like that. So it's been pretty solid for me, but I'm really curious about you guys. Like, what has your experience been like with with 26.1 beta 2. I've been using it on my iPhone Air, my main device here, and also on my 17 Pro Max. Now, as far as battery life goes, you have to tell me what I started this video with, but I'm at 81% right now. But battery life has been pretty good as well on 26.1 beta 2. I haven't really noticed a big jump from 26.0 to 26.1 beta 1 to 26.1 beta 2. I haven't really noticed a big change anywhere within that, area. So I would expect battery life to be about the same as it was on 26 and 26.0.1. But if you've had a different experience, if it solved your battery drain issues or if it's made it worse, let me know. This is a beta, so technically it should be worse. Like, we should be seeing worse battery life on a beta. But for me, I'm not really seeing it, even on my main iPhone Air device, which should really be getting, hammered with the betas, but it's doing pretty fine. But I think the next few updates will be even better for battery life. So let's talk about what we can expect next from Apple. So next up is going to be iOS 26.1 beta 3. Now there is a slim possibility of seeing a 26.0.2 for the general public, like a non-beta update, but that would have to come most likely next week or maybe even the week after. But that's only if Apple finds something significant that they need to push out that update for. It's not a guarantee. We haven't really seen any mentions of that anywhere. So my guess is we're going to see 26.1 as the next major public release, but of course, who knows? But the next beta should be coming out next week on the week of October 13th. That should be iOS 26.1 beta 3. And we'll probably have a beta 4, maybe in a beta 5 before we see the final release, but we should be seeing that final release either the final week of October or potentially in early November. All right, so now let's move on to some more Apple news. And let's start with Apple's upcoming foldable iPhone, because that's going to be here before we know it. We are like literally less than a year away from seeing Apple's first foldable phone ever. And this is going to be a big deal. And we got some new details this week. So this actually comes from Apple analyst Jeff Poo. And he's saying that Apple's foldable iPhone is going to use a mixed titanium and aluminum frame. So the device will reportedly debut as part of the iPhone 18 lineup in 2026 and launching alongside the rumored iPhone 18 Air. So I know there were rumors about the iPhone Air just being like a one-off, or maybe Apple's going to do it every few years, but we're hearing that we are going to see another iPhone Air next year, and then we're going to see this foldable phone come along with it. So once again, Pooh is saying that Apple is going to use titanium and aluminum, but this differs from what Ming-Chi Kuo said earlier, because he said that Apple is going to use titanium and stainless steel instead, not aluminum. So, that's going to be added durability apparently, but who knows? So we're going to see some type of mix of materials, but we're having conflicting analyst rumors now in terms of the two materials that are going to be used and kind of combined. And he's also reporting that the thickness of this iPhone is going to be 4.5 millimeters. So that is actually thinner than the iPhone Air. And it's also going to feature a 5.5-inch display when folded and 7.8 inches when unfolded. So it's going to be kind of like an iPad mini in your hands, but it's going to be super thin and super light. It's kind of like the Z Fold 7, but even skinnier and lighter than that, most likely. So this will be pretty interesting. I think a lot more people are going to like it than they realize right now. But what do you think about the materials being used? Because I feel like I wouldn't want aluminum on such an expensive foldable device. I feel like it's just going to feel cheap, kind of like the iPhone 17 kind of feels cheap sometimes when I pick it up. I don't know, I just feel like titanium feels better in the hands, especially when you're going for a premium look and a premium feel, like a potentially $3,000 phone, $2,500 phone. I don't know. What do you guys think about the materials that are going to be used in this phone? What would you prefer? But let's talk about something a little bit sooner than that foldable iPhone. Let's talk about this month, because we should be seeing new Apple products as early as this month in October, and that could be starting with the M5 MacBook Pro. We're hearing that could very well be coming later this month because we're seeing stock shortages at the Apple Store. And this is also mentioned by Mark Gurman over on X. So he was basically saying that supplies of the 14-inch M4 MacBook Pro are running low. So he said this: on the base level 14-inch MacBook Pros, custom configurations on the line store are constrained until the end of October. Not the case for the Pro and Max and 16-inch models. So that, on top of all the rumors we've been hearing for a while that we are going to see the new M5 MacBook Pro at the end of October or early November, that makes us believe that we could very well be seeing that later on this month. Are we going to see an event? Maybe, maybe not. We could just see a press release rollout for this and maybe the M5 iPad Pro as well, because they both appear to be pretty small updates. So I would not be surprised to see the M5 iPad Pro, M5 MacBook Pro just be released via press release and maybe a video on YouTube. Now let's talk about Apple fixing Scratchgate. So if you guys remember with the iPhone 17 series, of course this year we had Scratchgate where all the iPhones were scratched up like crazy. It was the end of the world. I never had any scratches on any of my phones, so I think that was completely blown out of proportion. Of course it was happening, but in real day-to-day life, I wasn't really meeting anybody who had that happen to them. And it looks like a lot of these scratches were just from the MagSafe stands that Apple had in the store, and they weren't actually like deep scratches. It was more just like a transport, what they say, a transport of material from one to the next. Regardless of what it actually was, Apple did come out and say that they replaced these, iPhone in-store magnets, the MagSafe stands on the back that was giving these iPhone 17s those marks. So it says that Apple has quietly added a protective silicone ring to its in-store MagSafe charging stands following reports of marks appearing on some iPhone 17 series display models. So now there's a protective ring around, the MagSafe magnet right there where it sticks to the iPhone. So now we should not be seeing any type of scratches or any type of marks on the back of those iPhones. And the whole Scratchgate thing might end. So we'll see. I mean, did you guys actually get scratches on your iPhone 17s or iPhone Air? I don't know. I feel like I don't even use a case on my iPhone Air and I really have zero scratches on it. So who knows? Now here's something interesting if you are a security researcher, because we're now hearing that Apple is doubling its top bug bounty reward to $2 million for exploit chains matching the sophistication of mercenary spyware attacks. And there are also bonuses if you can bypass lockdown mode and beta software bugs. And with that, the total payouts could exceed $5 million. That's the largest out of any bug bounty program out there. And this new structure emphasizes complete exploit chains instead of individual bugs, aligning with how real-world attacks combine multiple vulnerabilities together. So Apple's saying that researchers can now receive immediate bounty notifications and faster payments without waiting for Apple to release a fix, like a bug fix update. And this updated program launches next month in November. And Apple does also mention that they paid already over $35 million to over 800 researchers since 2020. And then finally, just as tradition, we have another crazy AirTag story. So this time out in Missouri, two men, a 37-year-old and a 32-year-old, pulled up to an apartment complex in a blue Hyundai Santa Fe. And at this apartment, they saw a 2024 Kawasaki Ninja ZX6R motorcycle and decided that they wanted to steal it. So one of the men uncovered the bike from its cover, he damaged the ignition and somehow managed to start it up with a screwdriver, and then he took off on the motorcycle while the other man followed close behind in the Hyundai. But what they didn't realize at first is that the owner of the new bike had hidden an AirTag inside of it, and police say that the man rode the Kawasaki over to Alton, Illinois before finally noticing the AirTag and ditching it in a neighborhood nearby. So he just threw it off while he was riding it. But it was already too late because the Find My data already gave police enough data to start piecing things together as far as their whereabouts go. So when investigators checked the surveillance footage from the apartment complex, they spotted the same blue Hyundai with a clear view of the license plate. So from there, the police were able to track down the men to Wood River, Illinois, where police found the stolen motorcycle still with its Missouri plates on it. And of course, both suspects were arrested right then and there, and they were hit with felony vehicle theft charges. So they're now sitting in jail on a $30,000 cash-only bond, and they've been ordered not to contact each other, the victim, or the apartment complex. But honestly, if it wasn't for that little AirTag, that brand new Kawasaki might have never been seen again. So as always, like I said, no matter how big or how small something is that you care about, that you've put a lot of money and effort into, put an AirTag in it, because you really never know with these crazy people out there who's going to steal your belongings, and that AirTag could be the only way that you find it. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. The crazy AirTag stories are back. I know I skipped out on them last week, and I've been kind of off with these Apple Weeklies lately, but they will be back in full swing right now since the busy season is over. And of course, all the crazy travel is over. That's also why I did not cover 26.1 beta 2 here on the channel. I was traveling. I just got back from traveling, and it was just kind of a lot. There was a lot on my plate, and I just decided not to. So that's what it is. But we're done with that now, and we're moving on, and we will be more consistent with those beta software updates, and of course, everything else that you are coming to expect here on the channel. So thank you guys for bearing with me. September into early October is always just insane, as you guys know if you've been around for a while. So I'm glad it's over, and now we're moved on. It's a little bit more chill, and we will be more consistent with those videos. But hope you guys enjoyed this video for this Apple Weekly. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Let me know all your thoughts down there in the comments below, and I will see you guys very soon.